Today's video is being made specifically for Onyx. If you are not Onyx, you're welcome to watch along and listen anyway. We're going to be talking about hobby resources, and we're going to be talking about saving money in the hobby. If you are Onyx, nice to have you here, Onyx. I'm glad you're with us. When Warhammer is done well, when Warhammer is at its best, or when war games, tabletop games in general, are at their best, they're about friendship and community and people getting together. And I'm terrible at all of that. But I would like to be better at that. I would like to be somebody who has a war games community or helps build a war games community. And I would love to be like a leader in that community, but I'm an awkward shut-in as it is. But I've understand it that you're having a hard time getting into the hobby. And as I hear that, it makes me feel like you're having a hard time getting into my community. And I feel like I would be a jackass if I didn't try to offer my hand out and say, welcome to the community. And so this is what we're doing. We've bought you some things, and we are welcoming you into the community with this video. There's some information I want you to have before you start on your war games journey. Things that I wish I had known previously. But first, let's start with your wares. All right, so here's the booty. This is what we've done. You get a color wheel, because I happen to have a color wheel lying around. You get a new brush, which is a basic standard brush. These are disposable makeup brushes out of my own stock. I buy these for like 100 of them for like $5. They're great. They keep a nice sharp tip for edge highlighting and eyes. And then these flat ones here make great dry brushes. You get a file. There's tons of different kinds of files, but this is your first file. This is just one all-purpose file. Hobby snips. Now the thing about hobby snips, they'll last you forever until you use them on something made of metal, and then you'll ruin them. Everybody I know has their good snips and their bad snips. That's because they learned that lesson and had to buy new snips. We have plastic glue. Plastic glue is for plastic models like Fine Games Workshop plastic. Anything that's not a plastic model, you're going to want super glue for. The plastic glue melts the plastic together and gives it a very permanent bond. I recommend you store this up and down because the cap can get clogged. And it can be cleaned out with like a needle or a piece of wire. But if you don't have anything that thin, you have to use fire, and that can be not the thing to do. But anyway, plastic glue. And then finally, a battle sister. I don't know who this battle sister is, but I loved her. Look at how cool she is. Look at her awesome banner with that cool skull. And then she gets a lackey, and I don't know what the lackey's up to, but I don't know what this model does in game. I don't know. It's got a name and everything. I don't know anything about it, but it was cool. So this is what you get. These are gifts from StarCrunch War Games. This is all paid for by our Patreon, Brian Lord. And just like you're in my community, so I want to support you. He's in my community. He wants to support me. Community is the best part of the whole thing. Anyway, these are gifts for you. Now, I've been told you have your own paint, and I don't know what you're using. There is a certain group of paints that is kind of the paint language we speak as we learn how to paint. I use a lot of YouTube tutorials, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And you get on YouTube, and they're usually speaking in the language of the Citadel paint range, but there is a paint chart on a website called Dakkadakka, which will show you what all the other paint companies' matching paints are. I use a lot of Vallejo paint. I've used a little bit of Scale 75. I've used a little bit of Army Painter. There's different kinds of paints, and I don't know what you're using. And if it's one of those paints, you're all hooked up. But I recommend you get on Dakkadakka and see their range. And then even if you're using a paint brand that's not listed there, they have the colors there to match. And so you can use that to figure out what people are talking about as you search different painting tutorials. And maybe you don't use painting tutorials. Maybe you're very off the cuff. But there's some that I do want to recommend. And the first one I want to talk about is Minipainting 101 with Mini Wargamer J. I haven't seen Mini Wargamer J put up a video in like a while, but this dude like taught me how to paint like a long time ago. In his Mini Painting 101 series, I really can't recommend enough that you watch at least the first like dozen of those, because they'll show you everything you need to know about the beginning stages of getting your model ready, and cleaning it, putting it together, priming it, and then he is the basic. He's the groundwork. He's the foundation. He's very basic. He's very beginner friendly. That's Mini Wargamer J. I recommend him a great deal. There's a video by a creator named Dana Howl, and she talks about mixing paint colors. You only really need 4 base colors, and you could mix those colors together to get a bunch of different kind of colors. That video is really worth watching. Anytime I want to paint anything, I'll YouTube, how to paint this or that, and a ton of different creators come up, but some of them I'm very familiar with. Duncan Rhodes, who used to be on the actual Warhammer YouTube site, he's very trustworthy. I've watched Warboss Tay quite a bit, but if you just type into your YouTube search engine, how to paint this or that, tons of creators show up, and almost all of them are worthwhile. But Mini Wargamer J's Mini Painting 101, that is a place to start. And then just real quick, because I thought of it for a second, and this isn't about painting, and this is not about saving money, but there is another YouTube channel called Auspex Tactics. Can't recommend that guy enough, because literally anything that happens in the Warhammer world, he's on it, and he will tell you about it before anybody else will. That's Auspex Tactics. And now we got to talk about money. The biggest complaint anybody has about Warhammer 40,000 is its expense. Its expense is ridiculous for what it is. We're talking about plastic spacemen, and they will charge scads of money for their plastic spacemen, and it's really hard to justify. It really is. They charge so much that a legitimate black market has sprung up around them, with people reprinting models or bootlegging models, and I endorse all of that. Also, 3D printing. Get a 3D printer. Make Warhammer free for yourself. You want to buy a Sisters Army. If you buy it through Games Workshop, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. If you had a 3D printer, it would cost you the price of resin. And no, I don't feel bad about it, because Games Workshop has been raking me over the coals for years. And I just kind of don't give them money anymore. My best example of that is like codexes. I don't buy codexes anymore. I have like 7 Space Marine codexes. Why do I gotta buy the same book every couple of years? When the new book comes out, if I just wait a month, everything will go on Battlescribe or the Wahapedia, and I can just get those rules there. Have we not talked about Battlescribe yet? Battlescribe is an app for your phone that'll help you build army lists. Battlescribe is the shit. I love it. Wahapedia is a Russian website that republishes everything Games Workshop publishes, so you don't actually need their publications. You can just go to that site and get their rules. So I'm saving money that way. I'm just not doing it anymore. It's too expensive. And then as far as like the recast market goes, the 3D printing market goes, go nuts. Go nuts, because it's a way to spend money. But Games Workshop makes wonderful models, and I do really like a Games Workshop kit. I almost never buy them anymore, but they're great. So if you must have legitimate Games Workshop plastic, if you have to have those products, there are ways to spend money on them. And the first is never, ever buy directly from Games Workshop, ever. That's top dollar. You can go to our friendly local game store, Ryder's Hobby Shop, and get a 10% discount on everything they sell. But there are stores on eBay that'll give you up to 20% discount, and that's on new stuff. You can get a better discount from like people who have made mistakes buying things. Like they weren't really into it, they bought it and they realized they didn't like modeling or painting, and you can find models still on the sprue for a good price, and then when you're buying them off some dude, you're just giving a guy money, which is better than giving a big corporation money. I also have to direct you now to a different YouTube channel, eBay Miniature Rescue. Is this dude named Casey. Seems like a cool guy. And he's got like a whole studio set up. And what he does, I believe, for like his job, his living, is he gets on eBay and he buys just the trashiest models you've ever seen. And he buys them for almost nothing because they're jacked up. But then he takes them home and he fixes them up and he makes them nice and he sells them off. And his show is really worthwhile. If you want to build your Warhammer army for super cheap, you can go that route. Buy one kit, build it, paint it, finish it before you buy the next kit. You'll often hear people in the hobby community talking about their pile of shame. It's because everybody wants their big Warhammer army. Everybody wants it all at once. It doesn't work like that. Every kit you buy is a big project. Also, like dudes who buy like 2,000 points and paint it in a weekend, I'm sure their armies look like shit, honestly. So the sister I bought for you, it's a $31 sister, right? If you paint her in a night, you got $31 for a night's entertainment payment, right? But if you spend 31 days painting her, that entertainment costs you $1 a day. And that kit becomes less expensive. And also, you've gone slow, you've taken your time, you've made your model beautiful, what you want, and it's just a better way to do it. The hobby is only uber expensive if you do it all at once. But if you just buy a model kit, work it till completion, set it aside, and then go get the next one, it becomes far less expensive. And the final thing I'll say about money is that Warhammer and Games Workshop is not the world. There's tons of games out there being made by tons of different companies and tons of different model ranges made by tons of different companies, and all of it is less expensive than Games Workshop. All of it. Games Workshop's prices, I tell you, they are ridiculous. If you look at a lot of the historical games, you'll get 60 models in a box for $20. And then the rules too. I'm currently in love with a game called Warsurge, and you buy an app. It's either $1 a month or like $20 for the whole thing. It's this beautiful rule set, and I would love it if I had friends to play that game with because it's so sweet. But there's tons of great little mini games out there, little indie games, and they could use your money more than Games Workshop. And God knows what you're going to find that you're going to love. There is a channel called Guerrilla Miniature Games. And that dude often showcases new games that people haven't heard of or new games from smaller companies. And it's really worth your time. Games Workshop is a doorway. It's the first tabletop war game everybody learns about, but there is so much more. And as you grow and expand, you could find it, and God knows where you'll eventually want to put your hobby dollars. So that's it. Feel free to hit us up if you need anything. If you're not getting supported in your hobby journey, we are here to support you. We can, pick things up from the store from you. When you get your army together, you get a game over here. Welcome to Warhammer. Welcome to the hobby world. We are here if you need us.